section R7 about how to find the roots. So the first example is finding the square root of 49. We already did the 49, the square root of 49, 7 times 7 is going to be 49. That means the square root of 49 is going to be 7. How to use the calculator? Let's go back to the calculator so I can show you, because we're going to find not just the square root, we're going to find more than one root. The cubic root, the fourth root. So how to find the square root using the calculator? So if you remember yesterday, we did an example about how to find the root. You see there is an x squared here. But I need to use, there is a small square root here. Or I'm going to show you this method to find the square root. So you're going to click the second, then you're going to click the root is going to be the square root of the number. Write down 49, the result is going to be 7. This is the first way to find the root. There is another option to find the root, which is going to click on the math. There is a button here that says math. Then you see you have two kinds of roots. You're going to find the n root, the cubic root. The n root, when you click on number 5, the n root, then you see you have to submit which kind of root. Square root, that means leave it by itself. You don't have to write down anything. And 49. Missing constant because it's square root, so we have to put 2 here. Square root, that's mean you're going to put number 2. So it's going to be 7. Cubic root, for example, to find the cubic root of 8. The cubic root of 8. You're going to use exactly the same thing. Math, n root, put down the cubic, which is 3. Then the number is 8. So it's going to be 2. Must mean the result is 2. What about if you have find the square root of 100 over 49? Like this example. If there is no number here, it's square root. That means the number is 2, but we don't have to write down 2 because the roots start from square root, cubic root. So if there is no number, that means the square root, which is number 2. In this case, you can't use the calculator because it's going to be decimal. So we have to distribute the root. So it's going to be square root of 100 over square root of 49. Square root of 100, if you're using the calculator, is going to be 10 over the square root of 49. We already did this one here, is going to be 7. So the result is going to be 10 over 7. Square root of 100 over square root of 9. Distribute the root on the top and on the bottom. The square root of 100, you can use the calculator, is going to be 10. The square root of 49 is going to be 7. Check here. What about if they ask you to find negative square root of 289? The negative sign outside the root. So you're just going to write down the negative sign here. Now I need to find the square root of 289. I'm going to use the calculator. So math, or you can use this one, it's the same thing. And here's the square root of 289. It's going to be 17. I have negative outside, so it's going to be negative 17 because I'm not going to do anything with negative sign. So I'm just going to have to write it down exactly the same. If they ask you to find the negative square root of 225 over 4. We're going to do exactly the same thing. The negative sign outside the root, so here's the negative sign. I'm going to distribute the root on the top and on the bottom. So it's going to be square root of 225 over the square root of 4. So here is the negative sign, and let's find the square root of 225. Square root, I'm going to press the second. Here is 225 is going to be 15. So it's going to be negative 15, and the square root of 4 is going to be 2. So it's going to be negative 15 over 2. The next example, how to find the cubic root of 125. How to find the cubic root for 125. So check how I'm going to find the cubic root of 125. So I'm going to press math. You can choose the number 5 or you can choose the cubic root. It's up to you. Both is going to be right. Here's the cubic root 125. Press enter, so it's going to be 5. So it's going to be 5. That means the cubic root of 125 is going to be 5. Here's another example. Find the cubic root of 64 over 27. Negative. Let's put down negative here. Now negative sign inside the root. We're going to do exactly the same thing. So now the negative sign, you can take the negative sign for the top or the bottom, it doesn't matter. So it's going to be, I'm going to distribute the root, the cubic root of negative 64 over cubic root of 27. Now let's find the cubic root of negative 64. I'm going to use the calculator, math. This is the cubic root of negative. Here's the negative sign. The negative sign, you're going to press this bottom, not the sign here. So negative sign, add down 64. The result is going to be negative 4. So I'm going to write down here on the top, negative 4. The cubic root of 27. So here is the cubic root of 27 is going to be 3. So here is the result, negative 4 over 3. You're going to do this one when you have a fraction. Here's one more example about finding the root. If we have negative the 4th root of 625. So here is the negative sign because the negative sign is outside. So now we need to find the root. Math and root. That's mean I have to write down the 4 here. And inside is going to be 625. So the result is going to be 5. And there's negative outside, so we have to write down the negative exactly the same. So it's going to be negative 5. So this is how to find the root using the calculator. Some numbers, you can't find the root when it's decimal. That's the important thing we're going to learn on the next example. So you see, when I'm using the calculator, I got just a number, like the 5. Here also, I got 15 over 2. Here I got negative 4 over 3. You see, 7, I get with this one 2. I get with this one, the square root of 100 is 10. The square root of 49 is 7. The cubic root of 125 is 5. These are just numbers. So to find, when we use finding the roots using the calculator, if you find just a number, you can use exactly the same thing for all the roots. But sometimes we have a number, when we use the calculator, it's going to be decimal. decimal, it doesn't mean that this is wrong, but when you're doing the homework on MyLaptopLass, it's going to be wrong because they ask you to write down a whole number with root as a radical, not a decimal number. So I'm going to show you that in the next example. The calculator to find the square root of 24. So here's the calculator. The square root of 24. So here is the second. Here is the root, the square root. 24. If you press, it's going to be 4 point, and there's a long number. This number, it doesn't mean this is wrong. It's right. But when you're doing the homework on MyLaptopLass, they're going to ask you to plug in your answer as a radical form. This is not a radical form. Radical form, that's exactly with the root. So how are we going to write down this as a radical form? Let me show you the way, because in this case, we can't use calculator. Let me show you the way how to find the root. So the first thing, you can check the numbers using the calculator. If you get the result as a decimal number, here's the method. So the square root, that means the number here is 2. So I'm going to go on the side. I'm going to write down the 24 and start dividing the 24 on the smallest number by 2. Because we can't divide 24 by 1, it's going to be 24. So 24 dividing by 2, I'm going to write down the result here. It's going to be 12. 12 divided by 2 is going to be 6. 6 divided by 2 is going to be, the result is a 3. Now, if you check the 3, you can divide the 3 by 2. I'm going to divide the 3 by 3. By 3 is going to be 1. When I got 1, that means this is the end. Now I need to find the root. Square root, that means you're going to take every 2 same number. Why? Because it's square root. So I'm going to take every 2 same number as a 1. That means I'm going to take these 2 as just 1. If you check the leftover are different numbers. That means the result is going to be the square root of 24 is going to be, this number is going to be out. Here is the root. I'm going to multiply these 2 numbers. 2 times 3 is going to be 6. I'm going to write it down here under the root. This is the radical form. It's exactly the same solution we got using the calculator, but this one in radical form. Let's do another example so you can practice about that, how to find the root for the number if you can't use the calculator. If we have 75, finding the square root of 75. If you go and use the calculator, here's I'm using the calculator. The second, here is the second root, 75 is going to be 8.66025, which is decimal number. That means I can't use the calculator. So I'm going to go ahead and use this method. I'm going to write down 75 and start dividing. Can I divide 75 by 2? No, it's going to be decimal number. By 3, 75 divided by 3 is going to be 25. So I'm going to say by 3 is going to be 25. Now 25, I can't divide by 3. 25, I can't divide by 4. 25 divide only by 5 is going to be 5. 5 divided by 5 is going to be 1. I'm done when I got the 1. So there is no number here. That means the number here is 2 because it's a square root. So I'm going to take every 2 similar number as 1. 3 is not similar to 5. So I'm going to take 5 similar to the 5 because it's square root as 1, 5. I'm going to write down this 5 here. And I'm write down the root. You see, there is a number left over by itself, the 3. So I'm going to write down the 3 under the root. That's it for this example. When you can't use the calculator. For example, finding the square root of 12. Here's negative and here's 12. So the negative sign, it doesn't affect anything. I'm just going to write down negative sign here because it's outside the root. How to find the root for 12? I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Here's the 12. Start dividing by the smallest number. 12 divided by 2 is going to be 6. 6 by 2 is going to be 3. 3, you can divide it by 2, so I'm going to divide it by 3. It's going to be 1. We're done until here. Now, square root, that means the number here is 2. So I'm going to take every 2 similar number as 1. I'm going to write down the 2 here outside. And the leftover, you see, the 3 by itself is going to be inside the root. Now, we're going to do exactly the same thing here when we have cubic root. Fourth root is going to be the same thing. For example, let's find the square root of 60. Square root of 60. So I'm gonna take the 60 on the side. 60 divided by 2 is going to be 30. 30 divided by 2 is going to be 15. 15, I can't divide it by 2, so I'm going to divide by 3. It's going to be 5. 5, I can't divide it by 2, can't by 3, only by 5. It's going to be 1. When I get 1, that means this is the done of the solution. Square root, that means we're going to take every 2 similar number as 1. So I'm going to take these as 1, and it's going to be outside. Here is the 2. And check the leftover. I have leftover 2 numbers, so I'm going to multiply these 2 numbers. 3 times 5 is going to be 15. So it's going to be 2 square root of 15. This is the radical form. This is the solution. This method. Finding the cubic root of 108. So here's 108 on the side. 108 divided by 2, which is the smallest number, is going to be 54. 54 divided by 2 also is going to be 27. I need to find the cubic root. 27 I can divide by 2. I'm going to divide by 3. By 3 is going to be 9. 9 by 3 is going to be 3. 3 divided by 3 is going to be 1. I'm done. Now we need to find the cubic root of 108. So that means we're going to take every 2 similar number as 1. That means I'm going to take these 3 numbers because I have 3 similar numbers as 1. So I'm going to write down the 3 here. And here is the cubic root. The leftover 2 numbers. 2 times 2 is going to be 4. That means this is the solution in radical form to find the cubic root for 108. 125. 125, you can't divide it by 2 because it's going to be decimal number. By 3, divide by 3 is going to be also a decimal number. By 4, you can't. By 5. So 125 divided by 5 is going to be 25. 25 divided by 5 is going to be 5. And 5 divided by 5 is going to be 1. I need to find the square root. That means every two similar numbers. So if you took these two numbers as 1, the leftover also a 5. So I'm going to write down this number here outside as a 5. And here's the leftover, which is the 5 is going to be under the root. One more example about how to find the root. We're going to do exactly the same thing. So 176 divided by 2 is going to be 88. 88 divided by 2 is going to be 44. 44 divided by 2 is going to be 22. 22 divided by 2 is going to be 11. Now 11, you can divide by 2, by 3, by 4, just by 11. So 11 divided by 11 is going to be 1. That's mean this is, that's it. Now I need to find the square root. That means I'm going to take every two similar number as a 1. So these two numbers as 1. These two numbers also as 1. Now it's going to be 2 times 2, and the leftover is 11. You have to simplify it more. 2 times 2 is going to be 4, and here is the square root of 11. Exactly the same thing. If you're using the calculator, you will see there's no cubic root of 81 is going to be decimal number. So I have to use this method. So 81, we're going to divide by, you can't divide by 2, so I'm going to divide by 3. 81 divided by 3 is going to be 27. 27 divided by 3 is going to be 9. 9 divided by 3 is going to be 3. 3 divided by 3 is going to be 1. That means you're done. Now I need to find the cubic root. That means I'm going to take every two similar 3 numbers as a 1. So I'm going to write down the 3 outside. And the leftover is also a 3 by itself. I'm going to write it down under the cubic root. That's it for this one. That means the result is going to be a 3 cubic root of 3.